بسم الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. Okay, so a quick recall of two concepts. The larger context, which is the point of this class. A quick review of epistemology, the Antichrist, and then some actionables. So life is a test, right? What does that mean? It means life, and every single moment of life, every single split second is a test. So today, inshallah ta'ala, we'll finish this class, and then for some of us, you have to pray. Some of us have already prayed. There's a test. How are you going to use the time? How are you going to pray? You're going to get ready for work. How are you going to do that? How are you going to react to stress? How are you going to prepare yourself? How are you going to dress? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? How are you going to deal with traffic lights? Every single moment of your life is a test, right? Realize it or don't realize it. Hold tight to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, i.e. to the Sharia, halal and haram, to the Sunnah, relying on Him, hoping on Him, right? Your hopes don't increase with anything other than Allah. Your anxiety doesn't increase with anything at all, because you're turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no room for anxiety. The only healthy anxiety we should have is, does Allah accept me or not? That's my only thing that I should worry about. Every other worry is a distraction, is a confusion. It's only going to, a test is only going to become more variegated, right? So again, speaking California specifically, the last 3 years, COVID, what a strange experience COVID was. What a strange experience it is, the whole LGBTQ plus thing. What a strange experience it is, the whole Palestinian issue. All these different things, very variegated. It's always going to change. You'll continue, like in life, we're trying to stay in one place. It's never like that. You're always going to change. There's always going to be a new, different colored test, right? And it's only going to get harder because your iman is going to increase. So therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to test you on a harder test, and because you're getting closer to the end of time. And so the whole point of that is what? Separate the wheat from the chaff. Are you a believer or you're not a believer? Allah is going to test you. It's not just a free ticket you're born with, right? And what is the output of the test? Is focus. What am I doing here? You're sitting there, doing something. What is your focus? What is your drive? And then how can you create that focus? Look at what you're doing in your 24 hours. How do you busy yourself? Do you busy yourself with things that are solely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or do you busy yourself with 50-50? Or is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala something that's there only now and then? And your iman is either getting stronger, your focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and your life is all tying around Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's stronger or it's weaker. Simple as that. And so you're going to be tested in your money, you're going to be tested in your looks. Someone says, I'm not into the dunya. I don't believe you at all. Like, you don't care about your money. Okay, I don't care about money. That's one form of dunya. Looks. Everybody cares about the looks. What are you talking about? Power. Be it, what kind of power? It could be in the house, right? Power struggles between husband and wife. The fact there is a power struggle. Why is it even a power struggle? Why is even power part of your relationship at home? Who makes the decisions? Who doesn't make the decisions? Right? Because dunya, that's called dunya. The fact that you care about these things, that you want to be the person who made the decision. Right? Be it in the household, be it in whatever it is, be it in politics, it's all the same thing. Relationships, right? Does your relationship, when it gets difficult, does it tear you from Allah? Or when it gets difficult, does it help you focus on Allah? That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. That is the test, right? Someone's like, if it wasn't for my marriage, my religious life would be really, really good. It's like, what are you talking about? Allah is testing you in your marriage. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. This is a test. So the fact that you are distracted by your good or bad marriage right, is the fact that you're not passing the test. Is that marriage has to be recalibrated and re-tied to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then it all makes sense, right? And your knowledge, oh, I really want to know this, I need to achieve, right? It could be in your own personal thing, your own personal achievements, strength, whatever. There's a million things in the dunya, right? And so we let go of all of these things and return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Are you lost inside their murky confusion? Do these things confuse you, stress you out? When you get involved in them, you turn away from Allah, or can you see right through them to Allah? Okay, very simple thing. So they are there. They're not going to change. It's not that they are there. The issue is, are you passing the test? Are you seeing through this, or are you seeing, or is it a block? That's the test. That's the dunya. That's the test that we're going through. When you can't see it, you end up reacting to it in the wrong way, and you end up doing the haram or the makruh, or at least it confuses you. When you do it in the right way, you do it in the halal way, you do it in the sunnah way, you react to it emotionally in a way that it makes sense. Here is your child that just threw up 1 minute before you have to leave the door. This is a test from Allah. How do you react to this? All a direct message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah sending you direct messages all the time, but we either see them as just annoying life, or we see them as direct communication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and as part of our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Are they a medium through which you talk to Allah, or a barrier to Him? That is the test. So money is not the test. Seeing through money is the test. Your looks are not the test. Seeing through the test in your looks, that you're good looking or not good looking, you're overweight, you're not overweight, whatever it is that you're dealing with in your life. You're reaching middle age and like, oh my God, I look so different. You're looking back into life, oh my God, I wish I looked like this, I wish I looked like that, or whatever it is. Your money, your talents, your abilities, whatever it is, right? Your frustration that you can't work something out. It's either a medium through which you talk to Allah, you talk to Allah through that inability, through that weakness, or it's a barrier to Him. Why did Allah give me this? And so that's the big picture. And then recall as well, epistemology, how we know what we know. So again, whenever we're saying anything about signs at the end of time, some things are crystal clear, and some things we know as a historical fact that the Prophet spoke about. So today, for example, we're going to talk about the Antichrist. We know as a historical fact that the Prophet spoke about the Antichrist. If the Antichrist never comes in any form whatsoever, then Prophet Muhammad is not speaking the truth. Simple as that. So it is it's falsifiable, meaning there isn't actually a claim. It's not like, oh, everything's metaphorical. Like there's enough clear language and enough clear evidence that Prophet Muhammad claimed prophethood, he performed miracles, and he said that at the end of time there would be this person called the Dajjal, the Antichrist, coming. Now, a number of the hadiths are questionable, and a number of the hadiths can be interpreted in different ways. That's true. Okay, that's true. But at the end of the day, we know that he made that claim that Antichrist would come. And so if no Antichrist ever comes, then Islam is not true. Right? This is called falsifiability of something. Like I make a claim, right? I'm making a claim. I say, for example, this chemical is more reactive than this. Okay, well, if it weren't, what would happen? Okay, be like this. Okay, I've disproved you now. As opposed to a claim, which is just wishy-washy, right? England is the best country in the world. Okay, how is that falsifiable? Define what best means. That's not falsifiable, right? Is everybody familiar with this term, falsifiable? Yeah. Salahuddin, Maryam, Elsa. Like you're actually saying something, as opposed to it's so wishy-washy that, well, basically, you can just say whatever you want, and we'll always just believe you just because we have loyalty to that tradition or to that religion or whatever it is. As we say, Islam, we don't have loyalty to Islam or to Arab something or this or that. We have loyalty to the truth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, قُلْ إِن كَانَ لِلَّهِ وَلَدٌ فَأَنَا أَوَّلُ الْعَابِدِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encourages us to be bold and says, say to the Christians, if God has a son, I'll be the very first person to worship him. Prove it. Not a problem. Not a problem. We're confident, right? And so there are certain things in the religion that we know, and we know that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if that turns out to be false, then Islam is false. Period. But there are other things that's not super clear, and so you couldn't disprove Islam by disproving it, because what it would happen is that, well, I guess we misunderstood the hadith, we misunderstood the verse, because the language is not crystal clear, or because we're not even sure Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam historically said that. We just think he said that, or it's likely that he said that, or it's possible that he said that. Okay, so we always have to remember that distinction. If you don't have that distinction on our head, is very you can get confused very easily. Right? Am I making sense, Ilsa, Mariam, Salahuddin, Nimsha?
Yes.
Salahuddin, Mariam, Ilsa, making sense?
Yes, alhamdulillah.
Okay, good. Okay. So there are certain things we think are the case. You apply this in your life. I think this is the case. Yes, I know this is the case. That's it. That's the deen of Allah. That's your aqidah, right? And then I don't know. It's possible it's true, it's possible not. Right? And there's many, and we mentioned last week or the week before, most hadiths are weak. I'm going to be showing you hadiths that are either I think or I know. But there's many hadiths that they may be true. Descriptions of the Dajjal that Prophet may have said, and we don't know. And that might happen. Right? It might be proved eschatologically, meaning it actually happened at the Prophet, and then that hadith exists. But some hadiths we're just in doubt about. Okay, so the Antichrist, the Dajjal. So anti, the opposite of the Christ, of Jesus, right? He's the Al-Masih al-Dajjal. He is the opposite of the Masih, the opposite of the Messiah, right? So he's called the Dajjal in Arabic. Dajjal means the one who is always spreading muck and spreading corruption, right? And so he will appear to be a righteous person, and he will be so righteous that he'll have so many people following him, and then he'll actually claim prophethood. He'll say, I'm actually a prophet, and then he'll claim godhood. And this is very apt, because this prophethood, right now, the Jews are waiting for the first coming of Jesus. They're waiting for the first coming of Jesus. So for the Jews, Jesus has never come yet. Whoever claimed to be Jesus was not Jesus. Whoever claimed to be Prophet Muhammad is not Prophet Muhammad. That no prophet has come since that period. So they're waiting for Jesus to come for the first time. And Christians are waiting for him to come to the second time. And Christians see that Jesus is God. So when Jesus comes, and this amazing person comes and then claims godhood, okay, then it's going to be it fits the picture for them, right? And he will control the whole world except Mecca and Medina. He will not be able to enter these places, and he'll perform lots of miracles, okay, and he'll solve your problems. So when he comes, if you follow him, your life will be sorted. It's great. It all makes sense. Like, it'll all fit together. Your questions about religion will all fit together. Your health problems, your business things, everything's going to be fantastic. There'll be just miracles. There'll be just ridiculous amount of wealth, right? And so following him will be a very natural thing to do. Just give me 1 second. So he's your door into Hollywood, right? It's all sorted for you. It'll be easy to follow him and to believe in him. And it will be very hard to say no. Very, very hard to say no. Not only will you not get the benefit, the worldly benefit that he'll give you, but he will fight against you and make your life extremely difficult for you. And he'll be followed by kuffar, disbelievers, and weak Muslims. So this is what we are working out for. It's like, I don't want to be caught by the Antichrist. And he'll come from the east, right? And there's narrations that he'll come from Isfahan in Iran. And he'll be well built, reddish skin. He'll have curly hair and be one-eyed. And in Sahih Bukhari, the Prophet ﷺ said, so when we say Sahih Bukhari, what does that mean? It means we think this is true. It doesn't mean we know this is true. Okay? But when you have multiple independent sources, right? Someone like Bukhari or Muslim narrates, for example, a concept or a statement from the Prophet ﷺ, multiple independent times, then it reaches the level where it's impossible there's a mistake. You have 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 Sahaba all talking about the same concept, explaining the same story. It's impossible that didn't happen, or that they were mistaken, or that this version is off or that version is off, because it's not possible anymore. But usually, how does Bukhari work? Something like Sahih Bukhari or Muslim. This is somebody who lives 250 years after the Prophet ﷺ, okay? And he's traveling the Muslim world, and he's studying with hadith narrators, people who dedicate their life to quoting hadith and narrating hadith. And he finds somebody who is a hadith narrator who is reliable, quotes somebody else who is reliable, who 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 quotes that the Prophet ﷺ said, right? So it's like telephone, right? I think you call it in America, right? We call it, what do we call it? Chinese whispers. So it's Chinese whispers without the whispers and done clearly. But at the end of the day, it's not the same as hearing the Prophet ﷺ speak. And so it gives us great confidence. It does not give us knowledge. A single hadith like that does not give us knowledge, because it's not narrated by lots of people. It's narrated by one person. And from that person, usually one person. And from that person, usually one person. So there's room for error. And given that there is some room for error, even though it's negligible, it means it's not an issue of aqeedah, it's not an issue of belief. Yes, you have to apply it in your life and you should follow it and you should read it. It's irrelevant. But when we say I know, it means I know, like 100%. You can't call it a historical fact. You're going to have to say something is historically more likely, right? Slightly different. So Imam Bukhari, he narrates that the Prophet ﷺ said, I am warning you of him. There has never been a single prophet except that he warned his people of him. But I will tell you something about him that no prophet has ever told his people. Surely he is one-eyed, and surely Allah is not one-eyed. And the Prophet ﷺ said, no prophet was ever sent except that he warned his people of the one-eyed, inveterate liar. Right? Surely he is one-eyed. And so this is one of the general, what's going to happen is during the end of time, lies and lying will become widespread. That's a thing of the world, that just truth will become less and lying will be more. But that's not the Dajjal. The Dajjal is actually a person, right? The Antichrist is actually an actual person, and he is, right, Al-Masih al-Dajjal, right? The inveterate liar, the one-eyed liar, who will make a big great lies. Surely he is one-eyed, and your Lord is not one-eyed, and surely between his eyes is written kafir. It's very clear for those who can read it. It's very clear for those who can read it, right? The writings on the wall, as we say, right? It's very easy. It's very clear. But for people who are not clear and people who are not straight, it's not very clear. Verily, he has water and he has fire, and his fire is cool water, and his water is fire, right? Meaning he's going to offer you the dunya and all its perfections and everything, right? But when you take that, you will lose everything. And he'll offer you fire. He'll say, well, the other option is you can go and live in that concentration camp, and you can be with those weird Muslims and have no food and no water and no this and no that, right? And but if you take that, his fire is cool water. You'll take cool water, right? So this is the test, right? This is the test. Hollywood, right? The same test, same thing. How many times do we see that in our lives? Here's this option. If you take this, I'll give you this, right? You know, I know, for example, in my career, if I was pro LGBTQ plus, I could increase my salary probably by about three times, right? If I was very liberal with the opposite sex, for example, I'm just happy to mingle and be like super cool sheikh, right? Not a problem, right? And so that's just my own job. Like I could see that very easily, right? If I set up, I'll get all this funding right now, but that's the dunya, right? Do you want to go the proper way or the low way, right? So the Dajjal is this physical personification, right? Embodiment of the test of the dunya. But the test of the dunya comes before him and after him. And here I'm going to quote, not the Prophet ﷺ, this is the Eagles, right? The rock band, right? They have a very, very famous and a very important song called Hotel California, right? And I'm just going to quote two stanzas from the song, right? It says, mirrors on the ceiling. Notice mirrors on the ceiling. You can't see things properly. You look at the ceiling and you can see the floor. So you can't see things properly. This is the test of the Dajjal and the dunya, that you can't see things properly. It's all over the place, right? There's a famous kung fu film. What's it called? Enter the Dragon by Bruce Lee, right? And one of the final scenes is he's fighting the bad guy, and there's mirrors everywhere. And he remembers his teacher saying, "Break the image, and you will break the enemy," or something like that, right? And so he starts breaking all the mirrors, and then he can see where the enemy is properly. But this is the problem: is like you don't know where you're going. You're confused. Like what things lead to my happiness? So you see, there's Allah, and then you see all these bad reflections of Allah. So you take all these other things as your gods in life, other goals in life. Like Allah is one of your many goals. When in reality, you break all the other mirrors, and there's just one Allah. There's nothing else. There's nothing else to be hoped in. There's nothing else to work towards. Right? So it's not a goal. It's just the mirrors. Pink champagne on ice. And she said, we are all just prisoners here of our own device. This is the dunya. Shaitan was going to tell us on Yawm al-Qiyamah. I said, I had no control over you. I just invited you to hell and you came. Nobody is forcing you to do anything. All I have to. This is what we say. Oh, you know, in America, you just have to do these things, right? Like, you know, you just have to do this haram. You just have to do that haram. You know, this is in the West, bro. You know, you just have to do this. Nobody is forcing you to do anything. Nobody's forcing you to do anything. Nobody's forcing you to be distracted in prayer. Nobody's forcing you to dress in a haram way. Nobody's forcing you to speak in a haram way. Nobody is forcing you to talk to somebody in a haram way. Nobody is forcing you to do anything. It's difficult, but we are just prisoners here of our own device. And in the master's chambers, they gathered for the feast. They stab it with their steely knives, but they just can't kill the beast. And this is the dunya. You just can't, you can never get enough, right? You can never get enough, right? We're doing, the kids in school, we're doing Macbeth. This is Macbeth, right? He wins the battle, and then he gets this, and then he gets that. And then as soon as he becomes, he now knows he can have more power and more power. And then he's like, well, I have the power now, but I'm not safe in my power. So then he has to start going crazy on a rampage, killing everybody, killing women, children, everything, because he has to be safe. What's the point in being, you know, what's the point in the dunya if you can't guarantee the dunya? And you can never guarantee the dunya, right? Once you've got this company, and you need this. If you've got this car, you need this car. Once you have this, you need to have next thing. What's the point in living in a nice house if you don't own the nice house? What's the point in owning the house when you can't guarantee that you will be able to stay there forever, right? This is the dunya. You just can't kill the beast. You can never get it. So the trick is getting you to want it, right? Getting you to want it. That's how you've been got by the dunya, right? And he says, the last thing I remember, notice how the language is confused. This person's confused. Doesn't even know how he got to that place to begin with. I don't remember how did I get into this problem? The last thing I remember was I was running to the door, right? Rushing around life. I had to find the passage back to the place I was before. I suddenly clicks in my head. My life has, without noticing it, I've been sold to the dunya more and more and more and more, and just selling myself out again and again and again and again. Relax, said the nightman. We are programmed to receive. You can check in. Sorry, it's not check out. I don't know why it says here. You can check in anytime you like, but you can never leave. So this is the dunya. Once it catches you, you can just like, it just consumes you, right? Just let go, right? Just let go. Anytime, just let go. I don't need the dunya. I don't need to do any of these things. Right? What the things that you actually need to do are very, very few. Right? You know, subhanAllah, I remember, you know, when I was in Jordan, this is about 15, maybe 5 or maybe 6 years ago, and I'm having financial issues, right? And I remember I visited California and I heard of somebody who was making $25,000 a month. I was like, what do you do with $25,000 a month? Right? Like, what do you do with that kind of money? What do you need $25,000 a month for? Right? And then so many people, they live life like that, where it's like husband and wife both working 8, 9, 10K each. You, as a couple, you're making 20, like you don't need that money. So I remember, you know, like it was a very useful experience coming to California, and okay, I was seeing the picture and I'm like, okay, I was staying at in-laws. I arrived. I didn't have a stable income, and I arrived and I was like, my mission. I knew like, okay, this is what I need for rent. This is what I need for this. This is what I need for this, and it's not that much. Like you don't need that much money. Yeah, but if you want to do this, you need lots of money. So, well, okay, then don't do those things. Yeah, but I have to do those things. It's like, no, you don't need to do those things. So, like, what have you sold? Right? What have you sold? So the first thing you sell is husband and wife both working. Okay, because it's so expensive. So, well, why are you even living here? Like, why do we live in such an expensive place? You know, why do you have to do this? So all these things in our mind, we have to do this, have to do this, have to do this. And then you see like, whoa, both the husband and wife both working 50 hours a week. And now they're buying this house. They might as well get a bigger house because of this. Like, it's not worth it. You don't need to do that. And then, well, because I'm at work, I have to behave in this way and I have to dress in this way and I have to do this. You don't have to do any of these things. So I'm not saying money is bad, working is bad, or women working is bad. I'm talking about mentality. And you just keep selling yourself out and selling yourself, and then you just lose focus on a deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper level. May Allah protect us and forgive us. Right. You know, I'll give you an example, right? So somebody who's paid off like a half of their house. You paid off your half of your house. You have a house in California that's worth almost $1 million, right? It's almost $1 million. It's like, okay, so you have a house, you have equity that's worth $500,000, $400,000, $300,000. Do you know what you can do with $300,000? Like, that's all the money you need for the rest of your life. You can live in another country. Go and live in Guatemala. Go and live somewhere else. It's like, yeah, but I can't. You can check in any time you like, but you can never leave. Right? You can never leave. Why? Because this, because of that, because what people would say, because of the car, because of this, right? You know, I saw someone was telling me about their electric car. I was like, oh, this electric car saves a lot of gas. Well, how much an electric car costs? $40,000. So really? I mean, I'm pro electric cars, but like if you have that money in cash, that's great. It's a good thing to do. But imagine you buying that on credit, like $40,000 for a car. Like, why do you need a car that costs $40,000? Like when I lived in Jordan, cars were extremely expensive. Like a car, a very simple car is like 2 years salary, right? It's expensive. Cars in respect to people's salaries are extremely expensive. Like a simple car. In America, it's not. Just get a simple car, $4,000, totally fine car. You don't need a $40,000 car. There's no need for that at all, right? If you have it in cash, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, that's great. But the mentality, oh, I have to do this, right? $5 cup of coffee, $5, right? Like, how many bowls of rice can you buy with $5? So there's the life that we live, it's like, it's crazy, but then it just becomes normal, right? So that's the whole thing. It's like the mirrors, can't see things properly. Last thing I remember, I don't even remember. Like, that's the last thing I remember. I don't even know where I am now. But the last thing I remember is I was running for the door, right? So may Allah protect us, right? This is kuffar talking, right? These are kuffar talking about California, let alone Muslims. May Allah protect us. And this is like 30 years ago or 40 years ago, who knows when. And so the Prophet ﷺ said, there are angels on the entrances of Medina, neither the plague nor the Antichrist will enter. And the Prophet ﷺ said, the Antichrist will come and camp on the outskirts of Medina. Medina will then quake 3 times, and every disbeliever and hypocrite will come out to him, right? And so you might say, oh, okay, I'm just going to go live in Medina. Okay, if you live in Medina but you don't work on your iman, it's not going to help you, right? Just like, Zionists. Oh, I'm going to live in Zion. Let's go and live in Israel, right? And, we're God's chosen people. You're only God's chosen people if you choose God. But if you turn away from God and you're not, Allah's not going to choose you. So it doesn't matter what you do or what name you have or where you live, you're not going to be guided, right? Anybody who says these words will be protected. No, not if you don't turn to Allah. Anybody who lives in this place will be guided. No, not if you don't turn to Allah, right? So this is one of these things we have, is that we are people of Rusum. We love, like, whatever they do in Mecca, Medina must be right. So that's not true. It's not true. So, because these places will kick people out eventually. May Allah protect us. So I'm not looking at the chat. I don't know if anybody sent any questions. I can't see the chat here. I don't know why I can't see the chat. Here we go. I can see the chat now. Okay. And the Prophet ﷺ said, the Antichrist who is forbidden from entering Medina will camp on a sandy, barren area on the outskirts of Medina. On that day, a man who will be the best or one of the best will come out to meet him and say, I testify, I bear witness that you are the Antichrist that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us about. The Antichrist will then say, the Dajjal will say, if I kill this person and then revive him, will you then have any doubt in the matter? And they will say no. If you can kill somebody and bring them back to life, right? And in one narration, it mentions that he will actually cut him in half and then walk between him, saying, this is not an illusion. Look, I'm actually walking between these 2 sides of his dead body, right? And then he'll bring him back life. So you're dealing with somebody who can literally give life to people. So, like, how can he not be God? He can point to the clouds and say rain, and it starts to rain. How can he not be God, right? And he'll be inspiring. This is a very important thing, right? Showbiz. It will be inspiring. So be very, very careful of who inspires you. There's a big difference between education and edutainment, right? There's a big difference between I want to learn and apply. Like, you come out of that class disturbed with a wish to change. And you have things that you want to change about your life, as opposed to that was really inspiring and entertaining. Like, I liked that talk. So a religious talk that you benefit from is that there is change afterwards, as opposed to that was entertaining. There's a big difference. So so he will be very inspiring. So he will kill him and then revive him, bring him back to life. Then he will then say, by Allah, I know you better today than I have ever in the past. The Antichrist will then want to kill him, but he will not be given power over him. Could it in principle be metaphorical? Yes. Is it likely to be metaphorical? No. So, as a process, imagine if you said the Antichrist doesn't exist and he's just a metaphor. Like for you to come along and interpret all of these hadiths as a metaphor, that'd be kind of odd, right? So like he is a person. That doesn't he is a person. Now when you get to the specifics, can he give life and death? Right? I mean, so when you say as a fact, Prophet Muhammad said that somebody would come at the end of time and claim to be God and he will have these specific powers. I don't think we can say that as a fact, but it's most likely because there's certain hadiths, one at least I think of at least 2 or 3 where, these things are the case, right? And Jesus gave life and death, right? So it's not something impossible. It's a miracle that can happen. And so this is what we want to happen. This is the clarity, right? See the clarity. He comes out to you. I know what you are. Like I know what you are, and now I'm even more certain of what you are. This is what we want to happen. That you see a test in life. You're carrying your own dead daughter. May Allah protect us all. Right? You're carrying, and you look at this and you say, like, I'm crying inside. I miss this person and I love this person. But I know I was expecting this, and now I know this. Like I know that Allah was going to test me with the hardest possible thing in my life. And he's going to ask me, he's going to put a microphone to my, say, are you going to say Alhamdulillah or not? And you're going to say Alhamdulillah, the tears going down your face, and you're saying Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. And I knew this was going to happen, and here it is happening. Like this is how we need to be with the tests in life, is that I know they're coming and I'm ready for them. I'm emotionally ready for them. And when they come, they only increase the clarity, right? As opposed to you're there and you say, oh my God, this person's a weirdo. This man is an amazing person. He does miracles. He just brought somebody back to life. He must be God. You have to follow him, right? It doesn't make any sense. Can you see that? So somebody for whom the tests just make you more astray, and somebody for the test just makes it clearer. Does it make sense to everybody?
Yeah, Sheikh.
May Allah protect all of our kids, right? So the Antichrist will then say, if I killed no, we did this. Let me just read this indeed. Okay, and then the resistance. So the guided one, this is called Al-Mahdi, right? And in that recording, those who listen to it, I did a whole presentation on him, on the guided one, right? And we spoke, at length about that, the guided one, the Mahdi. He has a clear forehead and a long, fine nose. He will fill the earth with righteousness and justice, just as it was before filled with wrongdoing and oppression. And he will rule for 7 years. And so this is in Sunan Abi Dawood. It's not as authentic as Bukhari. However, as explained in that recording or that lesson, the description, to claim that we don't know about the guided one, about the Mahdi, that's wrong. To say that we don't think that it's true, that's wrong. To say that we think that there will be a guided one is correct. To say that we know that he's the case is also arguably correct. So it is argued by many scholars that it's a historical fact that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this, i.e., it's impossible that he didn't say it. and others say no, there is some room for debate. The guided one. And the Prophet ﷺ said in a Sahih hadith in Bukhari, says, how will you be when the son of Maryam comes, so Isa comes, among you, while your leader, so this is somebody else, is from yourselves. So who is this leader? This is the Mahdi, right? So what will happen is, during the time of the Dajjal, there will be somebody called the Mahdi, okay? And he will be the leader of the Muslims. And it will be extremely difficult. It will be a very, very difficult time. It will be very, very easy to follow the Dajjal. It will be very, very hard to follow the Mahdi. Okay, you're going to have to make hundreds of sacrifices in your dunya, suffer all sorts of things, probably get killed, imprisoned, who knows what, all sorts of things to happen to you in order to follow the Mahdi. But he will be guided. He will not be a prophet. So the Mahdi is not a prophet, but he will be a righteous person who will fill the world with righteousness. And so he will come, and there will be the struggle between the believers, the real believers, and the Dajjal, and it will get extremely difficult. It will get extremely difficult, and it will get so hard that the believers will be surrounded, and they will be basically dying of thirst and hunger, and they have to go out and fight, but there's no hope of winning because it's an impossible battle. So then they will one morning, one night they will decide that tomorrow morning we're going to go out and fight. We're either going to die here of thirst and hunger, or we're going to die fighting, one of the two. At that point, when the believers decide to put in that 120% effort, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make a miracle happen, and Sayyidina Isa will come back. So Sayyidina Isa is not dead. He did not die on the cross. He did not die at all. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised him up, and the Prophet saw him, and so he will come down near Jerusalem, where the Mahdi and the believers are, and he will come and pray Fajr with them, and he will follow the Mahdi. They will tell him to lead the prayer, and he'll say no. Out of honor for the Ummah Muhammad, Sayyidina Isa will follow us and follow the Mahdi, and the Mahdi will lead, and Sayyidina Isa will follow. And then Sayyidina Isa will kill the Antichrist. That's what we'll read in a second, right? And in Bukhari says, by the one in whose hand is my soul, it is almost time for the son of Maryam to descend among you as a just ruler, after which he will break the cross, kill swine, and abolish jizya. So notice, so we do not respect other religions. We tolerate other religions, right? So next time you feel like, oh, I really respect other religions, just think about yourself. Sayyidina Isa is here. Sayyidina Isa is right behind you, right? And so you're saying Happy Christmas to somebody. Like, how is Sayyidina Isa going to deal with it? Sayyidina Isa will say, we tolerate other religions, right? Christians and Jews had religious freedom in under Muslim power. They were not oppressed. They were not forced to change their religion. That didn't happen, right? And so, but we tolerate other religions. We don't respect other religions. Respect is that you see it as something noble and good. It's not something noble and good. So Sayyidina Isa will come and tell the Jews and the Christians, okay, Jews, you're waiting for me to come? Here I am. So yeah, but we don't accept you. Okay, well, too bad. And the Christians, here I am. And they say, oh, we don't accept you, too bad. He will break the cross. Right? Just like the Prophet ﷺ, did he respect other religions when he went around the Kaaba breaking the idols? No. Did he respect the Christians, for example, who had a picture of Jesus and Mary in the Kaaba? No. He did not do that. And under Muslim rule, you cannot walk in the street with a cross. You can practice your religion in private, but you can't walk in the street with a cross or have these things. So when you say respect to religion, that means tolerating religion, right? Religious tolerance, but not religious respect. There's two different things. So you have to be very careful of how we do things, right? We have to be nice and polite, but we don't say, I respect that, right? There's a big difference, right? And he will kill swine, and he will abolish the jizya. So the jizya, according to, there's a difference of agreement among the scholars here. Jizya is a tax that non-Muslims pay. So imagine, for example, when Sayyidina Umar, for example, took over the Levant, he first offered the Jews and the Christians of the Levant to become Muslim. Become Muslim, you guys rule yourself. We're not trying to take over. You rule yourselves. Okay? And they say no. Okay, so then you don't want to become Muslim. Okay, then pay the jizya. Say no, we're not going to pay the jizya. So okay, then we'll fight you then. So then they fought. So then they took over. Okay, and then they said, fine, we'll accept to pay the jizya now. Okay, so this is a tax that they pay. Okay, so Muslims pay in zakat and they pay in conscription, right? They have to fight in jihad. Whereas the non-Muslims don't have to fight in jihad, they get protection, but they have to pay tax, right? The jizya. And so this option, according to the Shafi'i scholars, is restricted only to Ahl Kitab, to Jews and Christians, and Magians, the people of like Afghanistan and Iran before Islam. They were Magians, they were Zoroastrians, right? They were people, they're kind of treated as Jews and Christians. You can't marry them, you can't eat their meat, but they can pay jizya. Okay, so when Sayyidina Isa comes, according to the Shafi'is, khalas, it's over. Either you accept him or it's war. That's it. Okay. Now, according to the Malikis and Hanafis, and this is more historically what happened, is that any non-Muslim can pay jizya, right? So, for example, if you look at India is not Jews and Christians, are they? So how were the Hindus and Buddhists and whatever Sikhs under the Mughal Empire? Was it just like Islam or the sword? No, it wasn't. They had religious freedom. So how did that work out? So yeah, because in the Hanafi school and the Maliki school, they said, yeah, as long as, if you have, the first option is become Muslim and then pay jizya. And if you don't want to pay jizya, or you don't want to pay jizya or be Muslim, then it was war, right? And so these people paid jizya, or sometimes didn't pay anything anyway, right? And so the point is then in which case we're going to say this is slightly different. When Sayyidina Isa comes, he'll say, yeah, there's no more jizya, full stop, period. And he says, wealth will become abundant until a single prostration will be better than the world and everything in it. Notice how it's phrased. Wealth become abundant until a single prostration will be better than the world and everything in it, right? So when wealth becomes abundant, it becomes cheap. Like, what's it even worth? And you look back in your life, it's like, well, how many times have I done sujood? How many times have I done a real sujood? Like, what is the quality of my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Okay, and so mentions a hadith in Sahih Muslim. It says, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will suddenly send Isa ibn Maryam. He will descend at a white minara, at the east of Damascus, right? So, when I lived in Jordan is part of the Levant. It's called Sham, right? So we're talking about Jordan, Palestine, Lebanon, Syria. This is one area, right? This is called Sham. It's called the Al-Ard al-Mubarakah, the Holy Land, okay? And so east of Damascus, this is all very close to Jerusalem and all these areas. In the east of Damascus, wearing 2 garments, placing his palms on angels' wings. When he lowers his head, it drips, and when he raises it, silver drops like pearl fall from it. Every disbeliever who is reached by his breath will die, and his breath will reach as far as his eyes can see. He will chase him, i.e. the Antichrist, down and kill him at the gate of Lud, right? So this today is called Lid, right? It's a place in Palestine called Lid, right? But the real word is Lud, right? And in English we talk about somebody who's a Luddite, right? So this Lud is a place that's not mentioned in the Bible. You're a Luddite, like you're a fool. Right? These are, so it's a place, because these places were in the Bible, right? The Bible is talking, in the Old Testament, is talking about the Jews fighting the Palestinians, the Philistines, the Palestinians, because the Palestinians at that time were polytheists, right? And so if you understand that when a Jew or a Christian reads the Old Testament, they're going to see all this stuff of the Jews, who are the people of God, fighting against the locals, who are infidels, who are kuffar, who are mushrikeen, right? So then when you put that in the current situation, he's like, yeah, go and kill him, go and kill him. It's like, yeah, but who are the believers and who are the disbelievers now? Who's David and who's Goliath? Who's Musa and who's Fir'aun today? Right? So it's a totally different thing. So a lud, right? So actionables, protect yourself with knowledge. If you've never heard of, for example, the difference between tolerance and respect for religion, it's a big problem. It's a huge problem, right? If we don't know about Islamic politics, you have never studied fiqh. I've never even studied history. I don't know even what happened, right? History is so important. How were the Jews treated in Muslim Spain? How were the Jews treated in the Arab world recently? How were the Jews treated under Ottoman Turkey? And you're like, oh my God, they were treated pretty well. Okay, how are the Muslims treated by the Jews now in Palestine? Oh yeah, it's quite different, right? So it's very important. People just like look at history, right? Huge renaissance of Jewish culture in Muslim Spain. How is that possible if they were abused? They weren't abused. That's the answer. When were they, how were they abused? What happened to them? Nothing happened to them. Why are there still Yemeni Jews to today? They've been there since before Islam until now. Well, if they were abused, they wouldn't exist. Why are they still there in Yemen? Right? And so, look, history is very important. History, knowledge, sacred knowledge. Right? Protect yourself with good company. Super important. Look around you. Who do you talk to? Which social media group are you on? What things you're watching on TV? What is it? What is your surrounding? Are they people who prefer this life to the next life, or vice versa? People who do the haram, or people who do the halal? Right? Turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? This is our number one thing. It's exactly the same message as last week. Are you fodder for the Antichrist? Are you somebody who cannot go without your Pete's coffee in the morning? Like, I have to have coffee. I can't do this. Like, I need my dunya. Like, I need to have a car like this. I need to have a house like this. I'm a worldly person. That's just who I am. I'm sorry. That's how I am. Right? Or are you somebody who's noble and high and doesn't need these things and just uses them as a tool as opposed to an end? Right? Can you say no to Hotel California? Simple question. Right? You can check in anytime you like, but you can never leave. Is your iman strong? Can you see things like, yes, iman strong is like, I see this, I know what's going on. This is what I'm being tested on. This is the answer. Yeah, Allah, give me the strength to do it. As opposed to religion is a part of my life, but it's not my life. And everything else is kind of like has its own system. Right? Work has its own system. Exercise has its own system. Family has its own system. That and then Islam is like when you pray, if you pray. No, it's like Islam, your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is your work, is your family, is everything. Everything is subsumed and colored and imbued and directed and controlled and programmed. That's the program that is in. That is your coding language, my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single thing comes into that. The email that comes from the boss that was really disturbing, you turn to Allah. And nothing worries you apart from your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Are you currently fighting against yourself? Right? So it's like somebody saying, yeah, tomorrow when we go to fight these people, yeah, I'm going to do this and do this. Okay, are you strong? Nope. Can you walk? Nope. Can you do anything? Nope. Okay, then how can you possibly do that? Right? A soldier, all of his life is training and basically never fights. Right? A firefighter is just training the whole time. He's not actually doing anything. So the same thing we have in Iman. It's like, if you're not currently fighting against yourself, then how on earth are you going to survive when the Dajjal comes? Right? It's like somebody who is, I'm on drugs, I'm sharing needles, I have this and I have that, and then COVID comes along. It's like, well, your health was really bad because you're just sleeping all over the place. you are eating just junk, you are doing very unhealthy things, and then COVID comes, like, surprise, surprise, you die, right? So the same thing, like your iman is already shaky, and halal and haram is all in your contact is already optional. It's something that's an option. Like you said, like, should I obey Allah, as opposed to, of course I'm going to obey Allah, right? Yesterday, subhanallah, I was with this brother. He just came back from Yemen, and he's like, oh yeah, my kids prayed tahajjud. Like, what? Like, yeah, my 7-year-old, he gets up before Fajr and prays tahajjud. Like, that's what we do. Like, what a difference, right? Like, what a difference. Here's a 7-year-old who gets up before Fajr and prays tahajjud. That's just how they start their day. As opposed to, it's like, yeah, prayer happens now and then. Right, what a difference. Right? And so may Allah protect us all. So we looked at the larger context. We reviewed epistemology, the Antichrist, and actionables. Inshallah, we'll stop there. Subhanallah wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.